One of China's most powerful businesswomen, Joey Watt, is enjoying the taste of success as her Yum China Holdings continues to satisfy its customers after a stellar start to 2021. The company, home to well-known fast food brands Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC, operates over 10,000 restaurants and employs more than 400,000 workers across Asia. As CEO, Joey Watt has been key to Yum Brand's successful spin-off outside of the United States. In this episode of Influencers, she joins me to discuss Yum China's continued growth and expansion as the world gets back on its feet and what the company is doing to break away from its China roots. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Influencers. I'm Andy Serwer, and welcome to our guest, Joey Watt, CEO of Yum China Holdings. Joey, welcome.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
So why don't you start off, if you could, by telling us about Yum China Holdings and what companies you own, and just give us some background there.
Oh, wow. Okay. We are based in Shanghai, and we have right now over 10,750 stores in over 1,500 cities in China. And it's a company with a lot of people. We do have about over 400,000 employees, in which 64% are actually women. So diversity is a big deal in our company, and the key brands are KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and then our coffee business and some Chinese dining business. So that's sort of a very quick overview of the company.
Right. And so tell us about how you're connected to Yum Brands in the United States. How does that work?
We have been in China for 34 years, and we started as part of the Yum business in China. And then back to 2016, there was a spin-off, and Yum China became independently listed in NYSE. And then last year, 2020, we had secondary listing in Hong Kong. So we are two independent companies right now, although Yum was a parent company for Yum China for many years.
Right. And you've been CEO of this company since 2018, correct?
Correct. I joined this company about 7 years ago, and have been taking the challenging CEO job since 2018, and it has been an amazing journey.
And so how does the reputation and menu offerings of the American brands like KFC and Pizza Hut, how are they different in China than from the United States?
That's a really good question. Let's take KFC as example, and then we'll go to Pizza Hut. It's a brand that is pretty much part of communities. That's the way that I looked at it. Because we have over 400,000 employees and 99.9% local employees. And then we serve 2 billion customers a year in 1,500 cities in China. And so from employee profile point of view, is pretty much, part of communities because we provide so many jobs for our communities. And then in terms of menu-wise, there's some similarities and there are some differences. So the same popular item on the menu will be original recipe chicken, the mashed potato, of course the Coke, the Pepsi Coke, and then in terms of the difference, there are a lot because menu innovation has been a key strength for KFC in China. We typically have about 40 items on the menu, and the breakfast item will be anything from congee to wrap to rice roll. These are all regional delicacies for Chinese. And then lunch, we have, rice, we have soup, and then dinner as well. And then we have evening late night menu, which we have like crayfish, we have a skewer. So it's a very sort of localized menu together with some classic, really good fried chicken products. And then we also emphasize a lot on new food because China is such a competitive market for food, and customers really want good food. That is a part of the culture, part of the DNA here. So Pizza Hut, we have 80 items on the menu, and is 60% casual dining business and 30% delivery business, less than 10% takeaway business. And Pizza Hut, on top of being a pizza restaurant, Pizza Hut is actually the top steakhouse in China. It's rather different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pizza Hut have business in over 500 cities in China. So between the two business and other smaller business, we roughly launched about 500 new products on our menu last year. So how did that work, and how is it working, right? When we only have like 40 items and then 80 items on the menu. Well, we hope we try very best every week. If customers come to our restaurant, there's always something new there for customers to try, and that's the way to drive frequency. 2 billion customers, China, we don't have 2 billion people. How does that work? It means that many customers come to our restaurants very frequently. The most loyal customer could be visiting our restaurant as often as 5 times a week. So we always need something new there to give them something exciting, something different to try. So that I hope give you a sense about how different the way that we look at the restaurant. It's not only just convenience, it's not only just fast, but it's something also good food at a very affordable price. We see ourselves as a restaurant business that providing good and yummy food for customers.
That sounds fascinating and delicious. You're making me hungry. I'm a huge congee fan, for instance. So, wow.
I hope you could, in the near future, can visit China. I would be so happy to show you the menu and the new food in our restaurant for our customers.
It sounds great. So what is your business telling you, Joey, right now about where China's economic recovery from COVID-19 stands?
We just had our last quarter earning release, and as I mentioned there, for quarter one, it's interesting to look at our business because we have business in so many cities in China. It does provide an alternative view towards sort of the macro situation in China. So for quarter one, before Chinese New Year, actually it was a bit uncertain because of the uncertainties of the COVID-19 situation and the concern towards Chinese New Year, which typically has been the biggest migration of a human being on this planet. So we were quite uncertain, and then we planned a few scenarios to prepare for the Chinese New Year, because it's always a very big trading period for our businesses. And then when it comes to Chinese New Year, fortunately, the COVID situation was under good control, and people start to come out, and we have good trading. And then after Chinese New Year, things are going to the right direction, except we have been very transparent that the dine-in business is not back to pre-COVID-19 level yet. It's not. You know, the business moved to the delivery business, but in terms of dine-in business, there's still about, you know, sort of double-digit, you know, gap there. And then also the transportation hubs, which are mainly the airport and then the train stations, because of the slightly decreased traffic from moving between provinces. International airport business, of course, is very, very quiet. It's still very quiet. But for the domestic airport and for the train station, there was still a bit of gap there. So that gives you a sense. But in terms of the regional differences, which is another way to look at the macro situation, eastern part of China is always very vibrant, and that's the strength of the economy. And by the way, it has been the strength of economy just for about 1,000-2,000 years. So eastern part of China has always been the source of the economic growth and for our business as well. And then southern part is coming back up, and western part is also moving pretty quickly. Northern part of China is still quite challenging. And has been like that for a few years. So apart from the sort of the top tier and the lower tier city differences, the regional difference is always an interesting way to look at the China economy. So
yeah, your business and your business and your stores are a great barometer, give you a really incredible read of the different geographies and the different recovery parts of the economy in terms of the transportation. That's really interesting. I also understand that you saw a significant increase in digital ordering in 2020 compared to 2019. Do you expect that trend to continue in 2021 or taper off as things get back to normal?
Digitization has been the trend in the last few years. We as a company, we start the membership program back to 2015. So what we have achieved as milestone back to last year has been the hard work for quite a few years. So going forward, I do see the trend will continue to further evolve and consolidate. But the base is there already. I mean, just few numbers to give you a sense where we are. We have 315 million members in our system right now, and that's very
almost the population of the United States.
Almost. And these are just the urban population, huh? Because we are a big country. I do see this number will continue to expand as we go deeper into lower tier city, and the urbanization process continues. It's still going on in China because we have 1.3, 1.4 billion population. So that will continue. What else is the digital order? The percentage of our digital order is already 84%. And that's big. And that includes the casual dining, by the way. It includes the table side, what we call the table side ordering with your phone. And that certainly was expanding very fast during 2020 and will continue when we continue to improve the interface, how easy it is to use the phone to order food inside the restaurant.
Americans are just beginning to learn how to use QR codes with at restaurants with just the menu, but not the ordering. So we're behind you there, I think, right?
You know, Americans are very smart people, and once you guys start to learn it, I'm pretty sure things will move very fast. So it's about the openness and the willingness to give a go, and to also give opportunity for companies to improve the user experience, because it takes time to understand what customer really want, what they need, and then they can work on the technology side. So I'm sure it will be a sort of the trend that it will continue, because there are many benefits. And from business point of view, we have saved a lot of labor costs, although we put the saving back to food, back to customer, to improve the value for money proposition. So that's the trend. And then in terms of digital payment is even more interesting. Right now, the digital payment is already 97, 98%. So it's a bit hard to go further than that. But in each restaurant, we make sure that cash, and we still have tills. So we still help people who still want to stick to cash, that's fine. But it's certainly becoming a very small minority. And something very interesting for you, Andy, is for KFC business, we actually completely skip the credit card technology and generation. KFC 2015, we moved to the digital payment, and the move was from cash to digital payment. We completely skipped the credit card technology, and it was just fine. Why? Because credit card company charge a bit too much. And we are in a business with very small and healthy margin, so we could not afford that. But once the digital technology became such a viable option, we just move on to it, and it's very convenient for the customer, and it's very good for the business as well, because the fee charged by the digital technology is so much more reasonable than the credit card company. So that's something I think quite interesting for the customers in the U.S.
Oh yeah, and a lot is changing there with mobile payments, and it's obviously a tremendously dynamic part of both the Chinese economy and the U.S. economy. Hey, Joey, I want to ask you though, shifting gears a little bit, about a partnership that I think you have with Beyond Meat. Tell us about that.
We have been working with multiple different plant-based company, and last June we partnered with Beyond Meat. We introduced the Beyond Burger, but the limitation is on one, the quantity, the second is the price, because it's not the plant-based meat is still not produced locally yet. So we only have limited amount of the plant-based burger in both KFC and Pizza Hut and Taco Bell. Actually, we try in 4 cities. Customers like it. But I assume these customers are pretty high-end customers, because the plant-based meats are not cheap. So if we want to sort of move further to introduce it to more customers, I've been very transparent with our partners, with their CEO, that we need to find a way to lower the cost, so that more customer can enjoy it. But the concept is good. I like it myself, and many customers like it too. But we just don't have enough in terms of quantity, and also at affordable price.
Yeah, interesting. Presumably that will change as well, because if you think about it as a new technology that starts off expensive and gets less expensive as it scales, and there's new developments. So that would probably happen as well there. Right?
I'm optimistic too, because we sold these burgers. We tried these in 300 restaurants in 17 cities. It's a small sample because we have 1,500 cities. But once the concept is something that is viable, then as you said, we can work on how to get there. So yes, I'm optimistic.
I want to shift gears a little bit, Joey, and ask you about something in the United States that's always important for us, which is U.S. China relations. Maybe that's important in China as well. And, we have a new president here, of course, and I'm wondering if there's a shift that you notice in any way since President Biden has taken office? And do you expect any change going forward because of that?
Well, I mean, both countries, China and US, are very big countries, and both countries are great countries. In terms of change, since the new administration came to the office, I think one change is a bit subtle. Is I think is the sentiment became less worrying, because sometimes certain statement from the previous president of the United States might cause some thoughts and some sort of a challenge in terms of interpretation of the meaning, etc. So I think that has been an improvement. Although going forward, there's still some sort of executive order made before. They're still there. From business point of view, as a business person, as a company operating in China, we certainly want to see a bit more clarity and also more communications between the two countries. I do believe sometimes, this is just my own learning in the last many years, because I spent 10 years in UK running business there, I do believe sometimes cultural difference is a bit overrated, because I do see the possibility and the opportunity when we try to understand each better, we can find a common sense, which is what I call the best British virtue, is the common sense. And we all have common sense because we are all very intelligent people. So the cultural difference is just one layer, but if we go deeper, then we can find a common ground. So I'm optimistic.
And you were talking about the UK, but you spent time in the United States as well. Didn't you get an MBA from Northwestern?
Correct. Yes. And it has been very good experience, and I still am very grateful to the opportunity to study and to learn from many amazing individuals in such amazing school there.
Right. And one of the parts of the relationship that has been problematic, just getting back to the U.S. China part again, was the trade war. And so I'm wondering, has that affected your business at all? I understand that you had to get cheese from New Zealand because of that. Is anything going on, any developments there?
It has been relatively smooth, because we do majority of our sourcing locally. The cheese is one exception. So we continue to be open-minded about it. We are open-minded about all the options. Whatever is viable, we'll pursue. But I think I have not looked at it in detail. But I think the most recent trade number just came out between the two countries. It seems that we are still the biggest business partner. The two countries are still the biggest partners in this world, which is something that I see is a good sign. Yeah.
Right. One more question about the relationship, Joey, and it has to do with the stock listing. You talked about being listed on the New York Stock Exchange and then also doing the secondary on Hong Kong. Was that because of the potential ban that was talked about of Chinese companies listed in the United States? And how has the Hong Kong listing gone anyway?
We did the secondary listing because it just seems the right thing to do, because our business in China, and many of our shareholders are Asia based. So when we can get our stock listed in Hong Kong, it just make it that much easier for our shareholders and for the analysts who cover us to manage their portfolio during the time when they are awake, instead of stay up all night. So that is one consideration. The other consideration is many Asian-based analysts or shareholder, they can understand our business just that much better because of the regional proximity. Of course, I'm talking about the pre-COVID-19 time, after 20, after the challenges posed by COVID-19, things are a bit different. But still, the regional proximity helps. So these are the two major reasons for our secondary listing.
Joey, you mentioned you have so many women employees, and I think your company statistics showed that women are 64% of your workforce and 54% of senior management positions. How did you succeed in this area when so many others have struggled?
First of all, is not my credit, it's my entire management team and our predecessors' hard work. So the credit goes to them. Secondly, I do believe in transparency. Transparency helps a lot in the way that we manage the company. For example, for promotion, I'll give you an example for promotion. When we promote someone, particularly the middle manager and senior manager level, we have a committee to promote. We don't rely on one single person. And we have very clear criteria. We have a platform for each employee to present their case and with their sponsor to support them. So that helps a lot. Secondly, in terms of recruitment, particularly for senior management, when we also use a headhunter, we will be very clear about what we are looking for. That I'm referring to some very subtle biases. I'm not talking about bias that men have. I'm talking about bias that all men and women have. I'll give you an example. One potential bias that we are aware is just sometimes, we are comparing men's potential versus women's results. Think about this. It's very, very subtle, and we might not even be aware of that. However, if we make a list, when we decide to hire somebody, make a list, what is this candidate's result and what is this candidate's potential? Then it will become a lot more clear that we are actually comparing result versus result and potential versus potential, instead of one versus the other. And that's where things get a bit tricky if we are not being careful. Third is there are certain questions we discourage people to ask, which also sort of a little potential trap for bias. What I'm always talking about are these sort of very subtle bias, not those obvious education, whatever, because I think we got there already. So the third potential threat is I discourage my employee, and I certainly discourage reporter to ask me the same question, is to ask the questions like, how do you balance family and work life? Because we never ask men that question, right? So
absolutely, yep.
So the moment that such question is asked within my company, I challenge my own team, because I'm a CEO. I presume that once I challenge my own team, then that question probably would not be too welcome among the management team. Is we really don't ask men that question. The reason why I ask women that question, because you assume and you expect women need to take care of both, and it's hard. So by asking the question, the standard is different already. So,
Yep.
I think having a female leader sometimes does help, because I will be pretty vocal about such question, and we try to be aware of that. So I'll just give you some example. Yeah.
No, that's great. And you're right. I don't think I've ever, well, it's unusual for a CEO who are mostly male to talk about that question.
Yes.
Which is great. And you're
Yes.
right. It's a different perspective.
I think I encourage media and reporter to ask male CEO the question, because that also changed the perception and the standard. Why not? Why can't a
Right.
male CEO, have the expectation that they need to balance both too?
That would be so, it's so funny. And you're so right. I've never seen anyone ask a male CEO that. And I think they would just say, huh? Like, how do you balance your family life and being a CEO, right? And the CEO would just go, what are you talking? That's so great. Anyway, we're kind of running out of time here. So I want to ask you about your background a little bit, which is just
Sure.
fascinating. You were born in Fujian province in southeastern China and moved to Hong Kong when you were a young age and worked in factories, I think. So what was your life like growing up, and did you ever see yourself as a CEO, and what does that mean to you now, Joey?
It's a profound question, isn't it? My family moved to Hong Kong when I was 9, and that was not that unique at that time. The kids worked a little bit in factories, although child labor was already illegal at that time. But my lawyer has clarified that children were not guilty when they work as a child labor, legally speaking.
Yes.
And then when I was 15, and that was the legal age to work at that time, I started working in restaurant. I never thought I would become a CEO. I just try hard every day and be grateful of what I have. I'm actually very grateful of my humble background, because it gave me a lot of opportunity to connect with people who work at the front line. And such learning is still very, very important part of myself, and an important part of my decision making today. And that's one of the reasons during COVID-19 last year, we decided to keep some restaurants open and still provide jobs for our staff, because a part of my staff at the front line, I just know that they need a job. They need the money this week to pay for things next week, because I've been there, I did it before. So that helps a lot, and also helped me to connect with my frontline staff, because I was there before. It's still part of me, and it's a very, very important job. And I internally, I said to my team, there's no expensive or cheap food. There's only good food. So we'll produce good food, and there's no upper class or lower class. There's only good people. As long as we are good people serving good food, we are proud of what we are doing, and that's a very important part of the psychic for 400,000 people, I believe. Thank you.
Really interesting thinking. Joey Watt, CEO of Yum China Holdings. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Great to talk to you. Thank you, Andy.
You've been watching Influencers. I'm Andy Serwer. We'll see you next time.